is there alternatively an adaptive solution where we recognize the fact that it's not happening, it has happened already. Phones have taken over, they're only going to take over more. Is there a way we could learn to live with that fact and come up with a solution that adapts to those changes rather than takes 2 steps back and sort of essentially retreats?
Yeah. So I think one of the ways that we adapt to it is by recognizing that things that are good for adults are often really bad for children. And I think our default assumption needs to be, given that all this technology, this way of living seems to be harmful for children, I'm in a debate, there's some researchers who disagree with me, but it's pretty clear we can't say they're definitely safe. So as long as these things are harmful for children, I think basically we need to say no and delay. What you're asking is more about adults. Can't we learn, the technology is here, it's not going anywhere. The worst argument anyone ever gave in all the media appearances I've done and all the discussions is a woman, a parenting expert, who said, we have to raise our children in the world that we have, not the world that we wish we had. And I really went into her on that one. No, actually, we are raising our kids in a world which is incredibly toxic to them, and we can change it, and we are changing it. We're going to change it. So I'm not inclined to say we need to just adapt to the technology or adapt to it, because often you do, and it's not that the phones are going to go away, but should they get them at 5 or 7 or 9? And I say 14 should be the minimum, and most families should actually pick 16 if we can get the world to allow that to happen, but with QR codes and everything, So I'm guessing that what's behind your question is part of you feels like, yes, this is a problem, but another part of you says, I don't really want to give up my phone and all the conveniences. So, I guess, the final thing I would add is, if you're doing it alone, it's going to be really hard. And that's why, for Jews on Shabbat, it's super easy. It's what we've always done, and everyone's doing it. So the more you can get a community, that's part of why the flourishing class works well, because the students really support each other. They're doing it together.
Can I just add a different angle on that, which is, I think we could have taken, and still possibly could take, a very different direction in how we apply science to human needs. And that is basically to repudiate magic and say, we're not looking for instant, effortless, impersonal power to be deployed everywhere. And I talk about this in my book as the difference between devices and instruments. Instruments is a beautiful word that we use for scientific instruments. My wife is an experimental physicist. And if you go into her lab, there's lots of technology there. It's not magic. Ask anyone who's ever tried to work in a lab. It mostly doesn't work most days, right? You are bringing heart, soul, mind, strength to the work of research in a lab like that. You probably do this in some ways in your lab work. And all that technology is at the service of the human, doing something that actually on its best days is a lot like play, and has the delight of discovery and risk and all that stuff. But it's all still serving and underneath the kind of agency of a human being or a community of human beings. And surgical instruments, medical instruments, similarly, it's a physician who's actually kind of guiding. Even what we call robotic surgery is in fact still done with the skill and personal presence and the heart and the soul, as well as mind and strength of a surgeon. That's a pathway that we have explored some, but we mostly want the magic. And we could decide no more magic. Unless it involves human beings with heart, soul, mind, and strength, it's not worth doing with science. But there's so much we could do. The only instrument invented in the 20th century that went anywhere, at least, was the 2 turntable arrangement that the DJs use. And it's amazing, what you can do with that. But it's an instrument. It's not pressing play on Spotify. So that's the path toward instruments rather than devices.